Hey everybody, it's the Putback on SNY.TV. I'm Ian Begley with our digital editor-in-chief, Maurice Peebles. We're going to get into plenty about the Knicks and the Nets shortly, but first we're going to get into what's going on in the NBA over the past few days on the social justice front.
On Wednesday, the Milwaukee Bucks refused to take the court for their first-round matchup against the Orlando Magic in protest over the police shooting of Jacob Blake the previous Sunday in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The NBA postponed all games Thursday and Friday. There was some well-publicized impromptu player meetings there. And while the Players Association considered canceling the playoffs, the league and the players agreed to resume play Saturday while announcing the establishment of a social justice coalition. Ian, I know you've got a lot of feelers in the bubble. I know you know a lot of folks who are reporting from the bubble. What are you hearing on your end?
Yeah, I know that there was frustration with the Milwaukee Bucks, as other people have reported, particularly in the senior leadership group of the Players Union. There was a lot of frustration because this was not a coordinated effort. The Bucks kind of operated on their own without consultation with the other teams. But in the days since, they've figured it out. They've talked as a group, both players and obviously the NBA Board of Governors, and they've come up with some tangible aspects here that are going to impact the social justice initiatives in the way that they want. So I think all is well that has ended well.
I have my own opinion on this, and I can't speak for anyone except myself, but I found it very positive that they found some tangible steps to take, but it does seem that there was a little bit more, in my opinion, that could have been done there. Part of the example was actually set by the Baltimore Ravens. If you look at their statement from last week, where they had specifics, not just about voting and civic engagement, but about specific legislation that could be enacted. It just felt like there was a little bit of an emptiness there, a little bit more that could have been done, but it feels like an incredibly positive thing for these steps to be taken in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, Maurice, most NBA arenas now are going to be open on election day, including the Garden. So that's a good thing for the democratic process, in my mind, no matter where you stand. And like you, this is just my opinion, but I'm a middle-aged white guy who's been watching sports for as long as I can remember, rooting for black athletes for as long as I can remember. And I'm just trying to listen to what athletes like Jamal Murray, Dom Smith, LeBron James, and others are talking about with regards to their life experiences. That's what we should be doing here. Those of us who are not black, just listen to what people are saying, listen to people's experiences, keep an open mind about everything, and maybe you'll learn something.
And before we move on, I do want to add that I don't think the onus should be entirely on the players. I think it's really important for us to remember that the owners, the guys that sign their checks, if you combine their wealth across the league, they're worth upwards of almost $200 billion. I mean, that's enough money to make massive changes in our country. And I think if anyone can create change, I have to imagine that the owners in the NBA can at least take those first steps. Carmelo Anthony and the Blazers were eliminated from the postseason Saturday. Melo says he'd pray to return to Portland. But is there interest in a potential return to MSG?
We're a long way from free agency, Maurice. We don't even know if it's going to happen in late October. But I think there will be consideration given to signing Carmelo Anthony from the Knicks. You go back to last year, the Knicks under Steve Mills and Scott Perry, there was talks, there was legit conversations about signing Carmelo if they were going to get two-star free agents with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Obviously, they didn't sign those guys, so it didn't happen. But I think if they signed those guys, Carmelo was going to be a Knick. And his agent at the time was Leon Rose. And it's interesting to know, too, that there were people in the organization, even after last summer, that thought that it would have been a good idea for the Knicks to sign Carmelo during the season last year before he signed in Portland because of the leadership that he could have provided to that young Knicks team that was struggling early on.
For that reason, I love the idea personally. Recently, we've seen Hoodie Melo. Just really recently, we've seen Bubble Melo. I'm very much looking forward to Mentor Melo making his appearance next year, maybe the year after. Tibbs loves vets. Does it get more veteran than closing in on 40-year-old Carmelo Anthony?
The thing with Tibbs, too, that's interesting is Carmelo was really considering going to the Bulls when Thibodeau was coaching them in his free agency summer with the Knicks. It was Knicks, Bulls, and I think I was told at least he kept changing his mind. So I think because of that, he likes the idea of playing for Thibodeau. And I would think if his buddy Chris Paul gets traded to the Knicks, and that's not a foregone conclusion or anything, but that certainly increases the odds that Carmelo Anthony ends up here back in New York.
And what?
And something else worth keeping an eye on right now for a player who is not playing is the situation in Indiana with Victor Oladipo. We reported the talks between the Pacers and Oladipo for an extension in season last year were centered at one point around 4 years, $80 million, and the talks did not go that far. And I would think that Oladipo is looking for a max contract when he becomes a free agent summer of 2021. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Pacers at least considered trading Oladipo because they know they may not be able to re-sign him. I think if you're the Knicks or the Nets, you have to gauge what you think Oladipo would be when he's healthy because he's coming off that significant injury. You have to gauge whether you'd be willing to commit a max salary to him next summer. I do know that some people with the Knicks are very high on Oladipo, but I don't know if top decision makers are high on Oladipo.
Yo, Beggs, you know, as a Knicks fan, I'm all about reliving the good times, and I want to go back to winning as much as the next guy.
Whoa, Ian, hold up. It's time for the Nets portion of the show. Born and raised in Jersey, but now I'm kicking it in BK. Where Brooklyn at? You know who else is kicking it here? KD and Kyrie. You remember them, right? You know who else can kick it here? Anyone we want to be our next head coach. You guys can have fun with Tommy Tibbs, because the better franchise in this city needs the better leader. So Ian, tell me, who's gonna be our guy?
I don't know who that guy is, but I like his energy. Maybe he's Mr. Whammy's grandson or something like that. But with regard to the net head coaching search, we know they're going to do their due diligence on Greg Popovich. My feeling there is if Popovich wants the job, it will be his, even though he's still under contract in San Antonio. I don't see anybody with the Spurs standing in Popovich's way. If current head coach Jacques Vaughn will get consideration for the position, obviously if you're the Nets, you're looking for a coach who has championship experience and one who can coach superstars. And Tyronn Lue seems like he checks off those boxes because he's won in Cleveland, he's coached stars in Cleveland. We talk about LeBron James and Irving. But I was told that in the aftermath of Kenny Atkinson and the Nets parting ways, people with the Net organization had expressed pessimism about the idea that Lue would be the club's next head coach. So they could have changed their mind from then until now, but it's certainly something to keep in mind as we keep an eye on this Net coaching search.
All right, Ian, time for some quick Knickstalgia. Revisiting Mike Woodson's tenure as Knicks head coach. A lot of disparity in how Knicks fans feel about him. Is he overappreciated now when we look back, or was he underappreciated then?
Yeah, you know what's funny? Like, I see him get crushed by some fans. They talk about the lineups that he played in 13, 14. But just look at the bottom line. I mean, they won a ton of games. And he talks about this. I think he was a little bit ahead of the curve with regards to the three-point shot. That team in 12-13 shot a ton of threes. They switched on defense. And so you look at where the game has gone, I think the Knicks were ahead of that a little bit under Woodson, and he was the last coach to coach them to a playoff series win. So the results speak for themselves. I think you bring that to this coaching staff, and that's only a positive. If you're a Knicks fan who spends time on social media, chances are you know who Anthony Donahue is. He's one of the most passionate fans among a passionate fan base. Chances are you know about Gianna, his sister, and Gianna's battle with cancer over the years. Unfortunately, Gianna passed away on Saturday, and our hearts go out to Anthony and Anthony's family. Gianna, if you knew her, she just had an incredible spirit, incredible optimism in the face of such a daunting disease. She fought every day, and Anthony was there with her every step of the way. Over the years, Gianna's fight and her determination and her courage touched many in the Knicks organization, whether it was Steve Mills, Allen Houston, Carmelo Anthony, David Lee, MSG's Mike Breen. They all checked in regularly, wanted to see how Gianna was doing, and were rooting so hard for her. As Knicks fans, I hope you guys can uplift and support Anthony. And Anthony, again, our deepest sympathies and condolences from everyone here at SNY to you and your loved ones. Our hearts go out to you, and we are here to support you.